evening. We bring you the latest in the world of sports. I'm Paulo De Rosario.
We give you the conversations you want to hear from your favorite icons and athletes. I'm Diego Dario. And in tonight's game plan, we'll break down the sticky situation in Memphis and how the team can rise to the occasion during the home stretch of the regular season.
We'll also look ahead to the exciting matchups in the PBA Governor's Cup as we near the end of the elimination round. And we'll reveal the lucky charm of PBA All-Star Weekend Slam Dunk Champ Dave Murrell. Buckle up, sports fans. Let's get in the game. Well, the Memphis Grizzlies need to move forward without superstar Ja Morant for the foreseeable future. Now, the question is, can they do it on their own? And how will this all pan out? Now, joining us to answer just that is basketball analyst Coach Mark Molina. Coach Mark, how are you? You look very good today.
Hi, Coach.
Good evening, guys.
I love the yellow.
This is, you know why.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I had to bring that up because alam ko sasabihin mo yan eh. But before I hurt my feelings, Jegs, this whole situation with Ja Morant, I want to ask you too because you are also an NBA analyst. Ja Morant, indefinite suspension, how does that really affect the Memphis Grizzlies? We know he's a big part, but then is the season already in jeopardy without him there?
Well, if you take a look at the record before without Ja Morant when he was out last season with an injury, they were actually they won 20 games and lost five games in that stretch. So I think the Memphis Grizzlies will still be okay even without Ja Morant. Maybe they will miss his, highlights, the way he carries his team, especially in the fourth quarter when they need buckets. I think that's where Memphis will really miss him.
Coach Mark, what happens to the ceiling here of the Memphis Grizzlies? Because Ja Morant is definitely a ceiling raiser, but then just how bad is it?
It's going to be effective big time. As to I agree with what Diego said. They'll be okay short term.
Right.
I think they will maintain their position in the West, but playoff time they will need him. If he's not there playoff time, I don't think they beat Denver. I don't think they beat the top teams, Phoenix, in the West. With Ja, they can go all the way. So the ceiling gets considerably lower for sure.
And with the lower ceiling here, Jeg, so Coach actually listed a few players here that could step up, should step up. I think let's go with the loudest one here in Dillon Brooks first. You take a look at Dillon Brooks. We all know that he says a lot already, volume-wise, in terms of the social media space, in terms of the whole narrative. But then why would he be one of the guys to really step up?
If you look at Ja, he provides three things for me. And one of them is leadership at that position. And Dillon Brooks is the emotional leader of this team. He's a fierce competitor. He's a great defensive player, doesn't back down from anybody. And that's where Dillon Brooks comes in. He needs to be that kind of a player to replace the emotions that Ja will leave behind, the leadership that Ja provides Memphis. I think that's something that Dillon Brooks must do. And so far, they've won 3 in a row.
Yeah.
So they're doing well. As Diego said, their record is not bad without Ja.
Yeah, Desmond Bane is one of the scoring guys here for Memphis that will have to step up. Numbers bear that out, 21.3. Pero Jegs, syempre, I'm sure you know that if you take out the key focus in terms of scoring for one team and you put it on some other guy, it changes the dynamic all entirely. It's not just about, putting 21.3 points per game.
Well, when you talk about Desmond Bane, he's usually an off-ball player. The creator is usually Ja Morant, and he gets those catch-and-shoot situations, talking about Desmond Bane. But now that Ja is out, he's going to have some time, creating for this team, maybe handling the ball in the pick and roll, maybe creating for this whole team. But if Dillon Brooks is the anchor on defense for this Memphis Grizzlies team, if he's the energy on defense, I think Desmond Bane offensively will be that guy for the Memphis Grizzlies, even without Ja Morant.
This is how good Ja Morant is that he's not just a leader, he's not just a scorer, but he's also a key facilitator here for the Memphis Grizzlies. And Coach, you pointed that out as well. And the guy to take up the facilitating cudgels here for the Memphis Grizzlies, you mentioned Tyus Jones.
It's going to be Tyus Jones. And historically, he has played well every time Ja is not there. But Tyus will run the offense well, but as Diego mentioned, he's not the same creator as Ja Morant. And that's why a lot of those creativity will come from Desmond Bane.
Right.
And Tyus Jones is perfect Because if you run the offense through Bain or even through Jalen Jackson, he's a great floor spacer. He's an excellent spot-up three-point shooter, and he can run the offense. So short-term, he can do it. But as we mentioned, you can't win in the NBA playoffs without a superstar.
Coach, Memphis will make the playoffs, right?
Oh,
It
for sure,
shouldn't
for
be
sure.
a debate here. The question is, how far do they go? You take a look at where they are right now and the fact that we're close to the end of the regular season. Just how damaging can this be?
I think they remain in number 2, even without Ja. They have a cushion there. Sacramento's right there, but you don't know how Sacramento's a bit inconsistent. And everyone else are like, what, 6-7
Far
games
out, right.
behind. I think the cushion is enough for them to stay at number 2. But now, if you're the Lakers or the Warriors, you want to be at number 7 now.
perfect
If you're looking at Memphis, they're going to be a target in the first round.
Or if you're the Jazz. But okay.
No.
when
Let
you
the
take a
Jazz
look-
stamp.
Yeah, we're not, it's not going well. But then you take a look at, as you mentioned, ceiling. They're going to make the playoffs. Their record is too good not to make it.
Of course, yeah.
Jegs, really quickly here, are they a dark horse championship contender? Which they were before Ja Morant's suspension, because again, good record in the West, people not giving them a chance, but then a very punchy chance to make it all the way. Are they still that to you?
Well, I agree with Coach Mark. With Ja Morant, yes, they are a contender. They can win it all the way. But without Ja Morant, it's impossible in the playoffs because, you know, there will be times in the playoffs where you need a bucket and you just give it to Ja Morant. I don't think they have that player right now without Ja. So.
Coach, you agree?
100%. That happened last year when they played the Warriors.
Right.
And Ja wasn't there for, was it Game 5 or Game 6? And it was a different Memphis team. You need your stars to perform in the playoffs.
Well, NBA is always exciting, but on to more exciting news. NBA champion Mr. White Chocolate himself, Jason Williams, will headline the NBA 3X Philippines as it returns for the first time since 2019. This will happen on March 25 and 26 at the SM Mall of Asia Music Hall in Pasay City. The NBA 3X will feature a 3-on-3 tournament with more than 160 teams for both men's and women's divisions. It will also include interactive fan activities and performances by the Clutch City Dancers of the Houston Rockets. For more details on the registration, head on over to the NBA Philippines Facebook page. We've got more hoops because after the break, we'll preview the big matchups in the ongoing PBA Governors Cup elimination round. Stay tuned. You're watching The Game.
welcome back. You're watching The Game. Now, with the PBA Governor's Cup eliminations winding down, every game is crucial for the playoffs. Now, still joining us tonight to preview the upcoming game day is PBA Rush analyst coach Mark Molina. And of course, Diego Dario will be giving his points as well kasi professional player din naman siya.
Right.
PBA player din yung partner ko dito. So, let's go first with the TNT and Northport matchup. A lot of people are looking at this. Okay, from top of the table, bottom of the table, a lot of repercussions here, coach, because Northport could decide the fate here of another franchise in Phoenix.
That's right. And Northport, they played so well in the previous game against Rain or Shine. This is their last chance. They win this game, they can force a playoff for number 8. And they will need the same three-point shooting that they had in that last game that they had. I think they shot like 19 out of 38 or 39. Insane number led by Murphy, and then even the veterans like Jeff Chan, Zamar, even Arwin had this fair share of threes in that game.
Yeah, I want to talk about si Zamar in particular because you mentioned the shooters here could be a key against TNT. You mentioned Murphy, Jeff Chan, of course. We all know that he's synonymous with shooting, but Zamar had a breakout almost last time around.
That's the key there because Murphy's going to get his numbers. Bolick will be as a facilitator, and if the other guys are making their shots, then they will have a puncher's chance against TNT. Without three-point shooting, I don't think they stay close against TNT.
Jegs, motivation here for TNT, already secured the top 4 and twice a beat advantage, but still the race to the top seed. Sa palagay mo ba, does that matter, the top seed at the moment for TNT, or are they at the point that, okay, we had a bit of a break because of the All-Star, get back in the groove, figure things out? Where do you think they're at?
Well, knowing how TNT runs their whole team, their organization, they always, do their best every single game, no matter what the situation is. So when you talk about this TNT team, a win and the way that they would play, if they play the right way here against Northport, they will use that momentum going into the playoffs, especially because, that's where it all matters in the playoffs.
Coach Mark, key players for you, RHJ, Ronde Hollis Jefferson, had to think about how to say that properly, and of course, Calvin Oftana.
Calvin, because TNT has so many guards. Mikey doesn't play well, Pugoy can step up, or Jason Castro can step up there. But in that forward position, Calvin needs to be a consistent performer. Troy Rosario's no longer there. They do not have a scorer in that 3-4 position for TNT. And Calvin has been the man the last few games for them. If he continues to do that, that's why they're on top of the standings, because of him. And of course, because of our GH. They have not lost with him. They were doing well, but obviously, Coach Jolas and TNT management, they saw something in this guy to make a change. And I think he's a perfect fit because he can play inside and outside.
Of course, and again, TNT and Northport, one of the first matchups to look out for. Again, 8-1 TNT, and of course Northport down to 3-7, but still with a chance to make it to the playoffs. On the other side, NLEX against the San Miguel Beermen. This game has so many repercussions, not just involving them, to the point that the Barangco Bolts even have a few repercussions here. For those who are wondering, how can this game affect you guys in particular?
Well, if you talk about our team, Meralco, we're done with the elimination round. So basically, we're waiting for all the results in the elimination round. So if San Miguel beats NLEX, that's basically going to put us in the top 4 situation and give us a twice-to-beat advantage in the playoffs. But if NLEX wins, we're going to go down to 5, and NLEX will have a twice-to-beat advantage. So we're going to go up against NLEX if ever they win against San Miguel. So,
of course, you mentioned San Miguel, and when you take a look at San Miguel Beermen right now, the biggest news that has been going around recently is the fact that one guy in particular was not at the All-Stars, Junmar Fajardo, MCL injury from the EASL.
Right.
Coach Mark, one of the key guys that you mentioned right now, Mo Tautua, is that a reaction because of the fact that Junmar's not there?
Absolutely, and he's very capable. This guy is a starter playing a backup position because of Junmar. So he can produce starter numbers. He can average a double-double without Junmar. And this is his opportunity. San Miguel is still a very good team without Fajardo. So they need Mo to step up in that position of Fajardo. And they will need CJ to be the main guy offensively for San Miguel.
CJ Perez, you mentioned, has to be the main guy offensively here, but you take a look at the way that he's kind of changed this game in the past few conferences. All of a sudden, he has a bit of range. We're seeing him score more now throughout the first 3 quarters. Before, he used to be a big bucket getter in just the fourth. What are you seeing in this game?
He's going to be the main point of attack. They're going to run a lot of pick and rolls, and that's more of the style of Coach George Gallant anyway.
Yeah.
He plays a lot more perimeter oriented. They like to run the breaks without them. So I think they can still be a contender without Junmar.
Talking about the word contender. So it's only NLEX and Meralco right now who are in contention for a Final Four spot, top 4 spot. And Coach, you mentioned BGR and Alas as the key players here for the NX Road Warriors. But I want to talk about the guy who's going to be affected by them right now.
Right.
And Jegs, when you take a look at the way NX have been playing, a lot of people have been a bit surprised by how they have been performing, especially if you look at what happened last conference. What's going right for them right now?
Well, Kevin Alas is playing really well for the NLEX Road Warriors. I mean, he's in his usual game, but he's stepped it up a little bit here in this conference, finishing through the defense. He's been shooting well from the outside. And Kevin Alas, he's basically the engine on offense here for the NLEX Road Warriors. So he's one of the reasons why they're also one of the top teams here in the PBA.
Coach Mark, BGR, another guy you mentioned, I remember when he first moved to NLEX, he said, I want to be a defense-first guy. And he's been doing that and more.
BGR, to me, I thought coming into this season that he would be potentially one of the best, the premier big man defender in the league. I think he's already in that category right now.
All right.
Well, he changes the defense for NLEX, that's for sure.
He
For all
does,
the guards
for sure.
trying to drive.
Because he can do everything. He can
Right.
jump out in the pick and roll. He definitely can block shots. He can switch out on
Very
the small
active,
guys.
Coach.
So very versatile defender.
Absolutely. Coach Mark, maraming salamat. Really appreciate your time and, of course, all the analysis and, of course, gossiping about Ja Morant. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach Mark. And after the break, we'll find out about the hidden talent of Arwin Santos beyond the basketball court. What is this? Stay tuned. You're watching The Game. Welcome back, you're watching The Game. It was a weekend to remember for the PBA as the All-Star event returned to Iloilo after a 4-year break. Let's find out more about the highlights on and off the court with PBA Rush insider Bea Escudero. First of all, Bea, welcome back from Iloilo. And we've seen a lot of videos, pictures.
Oh!
The vibe was crazy in Iloilo, and we're lucky to have you here for you to tell the stories
Thanks
that
for
happened
having me.
in the PBA.
Having you back.
I was going to say, we got to introduce Bea properly. So I want to introduce Bea Escudero, the runner-up
go.
of the
Hey!
Shooting Star Challenge. My goodness, nagpatalo
We're
ka pa
gonna
kay
go there
Apple.
already. That was the last topic.
Was
Hey,
it?
runner-up is
Oh yeah,
not
it
bad.
is the last topic. Yeah, whatever.
Runner-up is not
All right,
bad,
all
but-
right.
Runner-up is runner-up.
Right, but how was the whole experience? I mean, Iloilo loves basketball. How was that whole vibe in Iloilo?
You know, it was really great. One, I was staying in the city proper,
Yeah.
but the games were an hour away. That was in the City of Pasay Arena. Let me just tell you, every single time we entered that arena, the crowd was insane. The way that there were so many PBA fans there.
Yeah.
I believe the All-Star game of Team Japeth and Team Scotty, it was a full house.
Yeah.
More than 4,000 people watched the games. And I just loved the energy of the crowd, and the fans were really just amazing. I loved Iloilo.
Yeah, it was an incredible thing to watch. I wasn't there, unfortunately, but then someone who was there was a longtime supporter of a certain Wami Chongson.
Oh yes, okay. So Wami actually reunited with his Yaya Nini, who now lives in Pasig City, Iloilo. She was actually his Yaya up until high school. Now that was such a great reunion because you could really tell during that time that we saw her, it was the basketball clinic with Alagang PBA.
Yeah.
And she was just taking photos of Wami. She really seemed like she was very proud of him.
Right.
Tapos, pina-interview din siya and she cried. Because she was reminiscing about the times that they were together and saying that, grabe, Wami really grew up, such a great guy daw. And yeah, it was really great to see them reunite.
The magic behind Magic Chongson.
I mean, just a full circle moment for Magic.
Yeah.
And for Yaya Nini, that's for sure.
How lucky
because-
that it was in Pasipa.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Even when Wami wasn't in the UAP yet, it was already Yaya Nini there for sure
You see?
for Wami Tiongson. But
Yeah.
let's talk about my former teammate who just won the slam dunk contest, by the way, David Murrell. And just to add to that, I mean, I've seen this dunk. These dunks,
Crazy.
I've seen this post-practice in college,
Yeah.
and he just deserves everything, all the awards that he won in the All-Star break. But what do you have for David Murrell? Bea?
David Murrell actually brings around his lucky shoes everywhere. And he brought this pair of lucky shoes that he says has really been with him through all the milestones of his life. And that specific pair of shoes has his signatures and also messages from family and friends back home. And one of them actually is from his dad that unfortunately passed away last year. And he says that this is something that he carries around with him all the time. And you know what? He says that that's really what made him win that slam dunk contest against Tyrus.
Yeah.
Just won by 1 point.
Yeah,
One
it was
point.
it was
Yeah,
close.
exactly.
He feels Tyrus feels robbed, by the way I heard. But again, Dave, it's that's really special. And just so you know, he actually did mention to me right before the show that he is retiring the shoes after the slam dunk
After.
contest.
Ooh, what a way to retire.
Yeah, what a
Yeah.
way to retire it. That's his shoes he was wearing when he got his first player of the game. That was his first
Yes,
shoes
exactly.
when he drafted. So again, congratulations, Dave. And yeah, we put that in a glass case. Talking now a bit about James Yap. Because
Okay.
James Yap, 17th.
17 appearances in the
Yeah.
All-Star. He's been in the PBA for 19 years, you guys. It's insane how many times he's been there. But this one in specific was very memorable for him and special because he actually went to high school in Iloilo.
Yeah.
We all know that he grew up in Negros Occidental, but later on in his high school life, that's where he transferred to Iloilo. It was the Washong College. That's where Team Japeth actually practiced.
Really? Okay.
Yes. Unfortunately, he wasn't there, but
Yeah.
he said that this is really where my basketball career started.
Right.
And
Again,
yeah.
full circle,
Full
as
circle,
we talked about.
exactly.
That's been the theme here. And of course, we wanted to mention a while ago what the special
Arwin
trade of
one word,
Arwin
Bea,
Santos-
one word. What is it?
Choreographer diba?
Guys,
Choreographer,
From-
propsman.
everything.
Oo.
Guys, Arwin Santos came into the All-Star weekend the night before. Okay, and he was like, guys, ako na bahala sa
Ready
costumes,
na.
ako na bahala sa props, and he delivered. I mean, you saw that performance.
We're seeing it there.
Right? It was funny because when I talked to him about it, he was like, don't worry about it. Because obviously, in Team Japeth, a lot of them were still
Right.
new.
Yeah.
It was their, like, Mamu, for example, was like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna do
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
But Japeth Arwind was able to just pull it off for all of them.
All right, so right before we go here, I just need to know this, Bea.
Okay, time's up na.
Is,
Hindi lang si Arwin yung may
is
secret.
Apple a humble winner?
Okay, this is the funny part to everybody watching. Denise actually gave her 3 tries. 3 tries, Apple, pwede ka magyabang. After nun, tama na. But she kept going on and on and on.
Okay, we'll end with that.
Oh
We'll end
my
with that.
God.
Tahimik lang ako.
Apple, you know where she is.
Crazy
all right?
shot, by the
But
way.
wait
crazy
lang.
shot, crazy
Before we go, or before we continue, I just need to say sorry to my PBA Rush family for letting you down.
I'm part of that. And with that, Bea, maraming salamat. We'll see you again some other time.
Yeah, thank
Next
you.
year, babalik ako, promise.
Bawi next time.
Yeah.
And that's it for tonight. Thank you for joining us. I'm Diego Dar.
I'm Paulo Del Rosario. This has been The Game.